Live from the grill on San Mateo, it's Champions Corner with Sebastian Noel and me, Coach B. Man, it is hot in studio today. We've got a hot one today, man.
Yeah, it should be a great show.
We've got a hot one, man. We've got legends in the studio. We've got a eating contest. Are you involved in that?
No.
Are you not? You're not getting into
kind of
it?
stuff anymore.
You know, man, I'm jealous. I wish I can be a part of it. You know, back in the day, I would have partaken in it. But we've got a La Cueva lineman versus a Sandia lineman.
Right.
That's what we're going to be on live on camera. We're going to be live on camera, you know, with the eating contest, the $100 challenge.
That's right.
It's called, and it's an 8-pound hamburger. Come on, man. You're not involved in that?
No, not involved in that.
Have you done the challenge at all?
I have not.
You know, 8 pounds. My goodness. Like,
that's a lot of burger and fries.
You know, John, in our pre-production meeting, had to separate you and I.
He did, yeah.
That's how passionate we're going to be today.
About hamburgers.
You know, John, did you get nervous there in the Are we offline now? You young whippersnapper. Coach, slide right on in here. You know, I know Sebastian will move his chair out. You guys move it. We want you right up sharing a mic with Sebastian or with Coach right here. Coach, I'm digging that jacket there, man. I mean, I'm digging that pullover. We have some coaches in studio, Sebastian. You want to introduce the coaches we have in studio?
Friend of mine, Coach Orlando Grieco, the head baseball coach at Rio Grande, one of the deans of the, and I'm not calling you old, Coach, but one of the deans of the baseball coaches. And whenever he has seen any kind of inequities or anything that negatively affects his kids and his community, he's always had a really consistent and clear voice. So I wanted to bring him in to discuss some of that.
Coach Griegos, is this true? You're a friend of Sebastian's?
I am, yeah.
I was going to say, because usually when Sebastian says, you know, this person's a friend of mine, they don't really know that. We are, you know. And so welcome to the studio, Coach.
Thank you. Congratulations
on your program. You know, I know Sebastian speaks so highly of you and the things that you do. We love here on our podcast, we love our high school coaches. I mean, we love them because, you know, they mean so much for our young sisters and, you know, and brothers when they walk into their adult livelihood. It's the principles that they've learned from their coaches. You know, you're too young. I've been coaching since 1987. So I've got players that are in their 40s now. And the beautiful thing about that is when they see me, they go, hey, Coach. You know, they ain't seen me in 20 years, maybe 25 years. When they say, hey, Coach, you know, and so welcome to the show, man. We're thrilled that you're here.
Well, I've started in 1996, so I've had kids now that I've coached there. I've coached the dad and the son. So
that's pretty crazy, right?
He's just taking better care of himself over time than you, Coach. The age difference is actually not that big. And then we have a Hall of Famer here, right? New Mexico Sport Hall of Famer. The tennis coach at La Cueva High School, Dick Johnson, is here. And he's a fan of the show, which is always nice that there is actually someone watching. So that's good, right?
So you're the one. He's the one. You're the one that's watching. Coach, equally as thrilled, the coaching legend, you know, equally. He's got the speaker on the outside. Yeah, I don't know if he's done that on purpose or there you go. Coach, you're a legend. I don't know if I'm too thrilled that you did Henry T's podcast before ours. So I love Henry T.
They sit on board together.
I'm just joking. I love Henry T. Henry T's been on our podcast. And so welcome to the show, Coach. Congratulations. Thank you for what you've done for, you know, the years of coaching with our young people and your influence on them, you know, beyond recognition.
Well, thank you. This is just really fun, and I'm real happy to be here with Liz Keith, too, the coach at Albuquerque High. This is a tough time right now. We're all just kind of in the wait mode, waiting to see what's going to happen with APS and get going again. And trying to wash our hands all the time, too. That's for sure.
Yeah, right? You know, one of the things that we've done, Coach, is even through this, we've continued our broadcast. And so we wanted to bring coaches and players and something to say, hey, we're not going to let this affect us. We're still going to try to entertain and give some informative talk, which is the reason why, all of you are here. So we can have some good discussion tonight.
I have a funny tennis story about my first tennis broadcast, if you want to indulge me.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so we cover the APS Metro tournament there at Provia Networks. And so Adam and I are supposed to go, and we kind of, since they're happening simultaneously, we're supposed to dip in and out, right? Go back and forth. Well, Adam informs me about an hour before that he wasn't going to be able to make it. So I was going solo. So, all right, we can handle this, we'll be all right. So we get there, start the match on the left court, the boys' final, right? First service game, it's Malachi Coleman against Abraham Johannes, and he holds serve at love. So I said, okay, let's dip away to what I'm sure is going to be more competitive, which was Ivana Corley against a young lady from La Cueva in the final. I don't remember her name. I wish I did. So we start covering that, and the first set is great. And it's okay, first set's in the books. Let's dip back into the boys' final, and we shift our camera, and I shift my attention to the left, and they're walking off the court because Malachi Coleman has already won his Metro Championship.
Yeah, Malachi was extremely terrific player, in the high school ranks, and what a nice young man. Just terrific person. I think in the other match, it might have been Corley and Anna Kudla, possibly.
Yep.
Yeah, Anna went on, had a nice college career, and, the Corley girls are doing great at Oklahoma.
Right.
Fantastic, and both of them are in the top six, and, their season got short, as we were. Liz, I think we were 2 weeks into the season at the APS singles, and
that was it.
And Zingo Bingo, it was gone.
And a third legendary coach we have in the studio, Sebastian.
We're going to share this mic here.
Okay.
It's the head coach at Albuquerque. We haven't had the privilege of meeting.
No, but we've been at a lot of Metros.
Right.
A lot of my girls, especially in doubles at Metro. But I think Dick and I are both Metro winners the last time we had it, so we both would have been defending Metro.
Yes, we would have.
This year.
Well, we love that you're in studio. We love, one of the things that's important, especially for me, is that we talked about it all last week. We want women's sports represented in our discussions here. We want our women's coaches represented in our discussions regarding the issues at hand. Because all of you are in it together. And that's the importance of making sure that we get representation from all sports. Me personally, for a long time, I believed there was one sport. I'm a football guy, But believe it or not, my favorite sport is baseball. Always been baseball. As a player, my favorite sport was baseball. I just happen to be better at football. I don't know why, Guys with my size head usually aren't very, Football is that GQ world with guys with my size head. But as you can see, I'm a baseball guy. Here's my team. And so we represented here in the booth. He disagrees. I don't know how. I grew up in North Jersey. I grew up in North Jersey. I lived there for 34 years in the New York City area. He grew up in Albuquerque. How is he a Braves fan in Albuquerque?
Well, no, I grew up in Southern California.
That's even worse.
Okay, here's how it happened.
That's even worse. So how do you grow up in Southern California? You're not a Dodger or an Angel fan.
Well, let me tell you, it happened at a Dodger game, right? So you know how kids at a young age tend to be a little rebellious.
What's up, Jason Mock? How you doing,
rebellious against their stepdad, right? So my stepdad takes me to my first baseball game in America, having moved from Germany, to Dodgers versus Braves game. And, at that age, I'm still pretty
You thought the Braves were the home team?
No, I'm pretty anti-stepdad at that point, right? Real rebellious. So my stepdad was rooting for the Dodgers, so I said, well, I'll take the Braves. And then they stopped.
I've got a story for you like that, too.
Louis Topa. How you doing, Louis?
I'm actually
up in
from
South
England,
Dakota.
and I moved to the United
My
States.
good friend Jules Baca.
79, but I love cricket. I'm a huge sports fan. I followed Newcastle United in soccer. I followed Yorkshire in cricket, so I actually love cricket. So I come to this country. I go to Lincoln, Nebraska to interview to do a school program. And I'm watching the TV, and it was Tug McGraw pitching.
Gotta believe.
It was Kansas City against
Philly?
Philly. And I just was fascinated. I'm like, man, it's like cricket, only fast. So I went to a baseball game for my honeymoon. I love the Braves because of Lincoln, Nebraska. Thank God they did not have the Cub station. They had TBS.
TBS, that's all.
I loved the Braves when they were awful in the 80s, and then I loved them in the 90s. My hubby's a Yankees fan, but I always told him the Braves are going to be the team of the 90s.
Yeah, they were the team in the 90s. All.
That's the only person
They were
I've
the
ever
team
heard
of the
say
90s.
I like baseball because the game goes by so fast.
Yeah, because you're from Germany.
The Braves really cemented, the term losing, in the 90s.
Not in
Come on.
90.
Let's
Listen,
not rehash this.
There is no winning except there's one. One winner. It comes down to one winner. Everybody else is in last place. So no one remembers who loses the Super Bowl. No one remembers who loses the World Series. No one remembers that. The Braves especially, because they don't make it to World Series.
Oh, come on.
You know
They
what I'm
won
saying?
the
So-
most games in the 90s.
You know who that sounds like? They sound like Dallas Cowboy fans. Don't the Atlanta Braves fans sound like Dallas Cowboy fans?
I got one for you too. You think about the Dodgers here, of course, the old Albuquerque Dukes, and I remember Lasorda stealing the base from second base and running into the dugout with his first or second game with the old Albuquerque Dukes. And my good friend in Tucson, Mark Hardy, tennis pro, well, his son JJ, I remember watching him grow up in Little League. And so I was a Baltimore Oriole fan while he was playing Major League Baseball in his last 5 or 6 years.
How about that?
Yeah, it's crazy.
How about that?
Yeah.
Orlando was the only one in here that doesn't have to be a fan because he actually played baseball at a pretty high level. So talk about that.
Well, I'm not a Mets fan, but I'm a Cincinnati Reds fan. But before that, I'm a baseball fan.
Right.
And my first World Series baseball game I ever attended was Mets and KC a few years ago.
World Series?
Yeah, and the Mets fans are fantastic. They bought me beers. They kept me warm in about 35-degree
You
weather.
hear that? You
So
hear that? Braves fans
I
just
can't-
do this racist.
The only Mets fan I know is not.
so I can't say anything bad about the Mets at all.
Thank you. I
Especially
appreciate
Mets
that. I
Tell
appreciate
us-
a guy who knows his baseball.
Tell us a little bit about your baseball background, though.
I grew up in the South Valley, playing at South Valley Little League. Went to Rio Grande High School, got cut as a freshman, became the scorekeeper as a sophomore, starting catcher on the JV a junior year. My senior year, I finally got to play varsity. Didn't get any scholarship offers. I was the leading hitting catcher in the state. Tried to walk on at Highlands University in Las Vegas. I got cut there. A year later, I transferred to New Mexico State. Tried out there, walked on, got put on scholarship, and got drafted by the Brewers 4 years later.
What kind of success story is that? That's
So
awesome.
you got drafted by the Brewers. What was that? Where did you report to in your rookie?
I went to Peoria, Arizona. I was the shortest pitcher in the 1990 draft. When I got there, our pitching instructor was a guy named Dave Racich, who pitched for the 78 World Series Yankees. 6'7" lefty. And there's 6 fields there. I reported to the field with the pitchers, and he goes, "Oh, the middle infielders are on field too." And so I says, "No, I got drafted as a pitcher." He goes, "Who in the F drafted you?" So, but it was a short stint. I went far beyond whatever thought that I could, and I think it prepared me for what my true purpose in life is what I'm doing now, working with the kids in the South Valley.
How about that? What I just saw a mock draft today is what I do with my free time during this COVID thing. I watch MLB. I watch all the old games. So today I watched the '97 World Series, Yankees Padres. And I love that. I love watching those things and stuff like that. And every time I watch a World Series game, I try to name who the batter is coming on, no matter what team, because I'm such a baseball fan, before the name comes up and stuff like that. And I thoroughly enjoy it. I'll put on some what I watched yesterday. You're gonna laugh. What I watched yesterday was Tom Seaver's 300th win.
Oh,
yeah, because my idol growing up was Tom Seaver. That was my idol. That was my sports idol as a kid. Was the franchise. Tom Terrific. And so yesterday, I watched the entire game. It was Phil Rizzuto Day at Yankee Stadium. I remember watching it live, not at the stadium, but watching it live on TV because I was such a diehard Tom Seaver fan. When he was traded in June of '77, the day he was traded, I cried. As a young kid, I cried the day he was traded, and so, baseball fan, way back. If I could do it again, I would say unfortunately, I could hit a curveball. I had a cannon of an arm, but the good Lord, made me with a piano on my back. So I would hit the ball literally 450 feet. Back east, they didn't have fences for home runs. They had just wide open fields. I hit the ball 400 feet, it would roll, and it'd be a bang bang play at second base. You know what I'm saying? And so they would say Don Mattingly couldn't run really well. We could name Mattingly was twice as fast as me. Literally 450 feet, it'd be a bang bang play. Everybody else would be inside the park, it'd be a bang bang play at second base for me. So. But baseball's always, even when I was coaching at Gladiator games, game day, part of my ritual game day was I would watch a couple of innings of the Met game. Calm me down and keep me cool.
Nice.
I'd watch a couple of innings of the Met game.
And that was good last year because they usually didn't blow a lead till the 7th, 8th, 9th. So they were always leading when he left his house to go coach. And actually, remember that one game when I had the final score written on the back of my sheet? You looked across.
He could always tell because if I was in a good mood when I got to the arena, the Mets are leading, huh? But he would let me know if they were behind. But it was baseball always coming down to the point. Even today, if you ask me, what would I rather watch? A football game or a baseball game? It's a baseball game, which is ironic because people say it's too slow, it's this, it's that. I just calms me down and sit down and watch a ball game.
Mine was basketball.
Really?
I grew up walking to baseball practice with a basketball in my hand. And but I played young American football, played through high school, football, basketball, and baseball. And I love football. My brother played college football at Columbia University. So yeah, so I enjoy watching great athletes, whether it be in tennis, gymnastics, what have you. I enjoy great athleticism.
Coach, keep what brought you to the States and eventually to Albuquerque High?
Well, I came for 10 weeks to work for a summer program in New York up in the Catskills. And we were told before we left, don't even think about staying. And the first day we arrived, we had an Irish director, and he said, if you want to stay, you can. There's a special dispensation from the Kennedy family in the Special Olympics that they would allow 12 people to come over on this program and stay. So I ended up being one of those, and I fell in love with this country. Found out I could go to school at Waitress, so I went to Lincoln, Nebraska, big Husker fan, tutored a lot of that 83 team, Turner Gill, Irving Fry, all those guys, Dean Steinfeld, a great team.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, you got to be a Cornhusker fan.
I'm
Talk about
a huge fan. Huge fan.
One of the
And
best
so,
offensive linemen in the history of offensive linemen.
Outland Trophy winner. Yeah. No next. So when I moved here with my husband, and I thought, well, I'm going to tutor the football team. I'm going to do the same thing. It's a good way to make money. And I walk in, and it was when Jerry Apodaca's son was the quarterback. He was like 5'7". It would have been about 84. And I walked in and I walked back out and I said, excuse me, I'm supposed to be working with the football team. These guys have necks. And it was like totally different. So I also tutored the basketball team that year. And there I got more of the attitude because basketball was a big sport here. But man, I just absolutely love sports. And I love teaching. I was a teacher for many years, a professor at UNM. Now I'm retired. I coach, and I don't count it as.
How long have you been coaching the tennis team at
Albuquerque has since 2007. I took over for 1 year because my daughter was a sophomore, and the coach quit in February, and they were desperate. I said, I'll do it for 1 year, and I'm still there.
Well, thank you for what you do. John, do you want to go out, or are we starting with the eating contest? Do you want to go and cover that while we're talking? And we're going to give you guys the floor for a little bit. And so we're starting to get a little crowd that are going to watch that. We've got a Cueva lineman and a Sandia lineman, and they're going to take the grill here as a food challenge, a $100 burger challenge. It's an 8-pound hamburger with fries. And we've got two of these young kids that they get an hour to eat all the fries and the hamburger. I can't handle the bun looks like it's. You know, John, you want to? Hey Phil, we're gonna put that on the podcast. 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
And then that'll just be going on in the background while we continue our conversation.
Right.
This might be the safest place to be.
Really? Behind the glass?
Yeah.
So Sebastian, let's start off with the discussion on why the coaches are here. It's going to be an extension of what we talked about last week. And so let's start out the discussion. And we've taken up the cause for APS coaches. We're going to be the platform. Nothing against APS. We're not beating APS up. Well, that's not what the goal is. But Sebastian, take it away and start the discussion.
Well, and I think this will be really beneficial because we are moving away from the money discussion, right? Because as all coaches that we've talked to said, they're not coaching for money. If they were, they'd be in the poorhouse. So we're kind of moving away from that discussion and just kind of talking about more inequities. And obviously with the tennis perspective is one we haven't had. And then Coach Grieco's perspective is one where, baseball, now they've lost their season, plus potentially the summer. And if, club baseball is so expensive that, kids in Coach Grieco's community might not be able to afford that, they're going to lose over a year of baseball. So Coach, we're going to pick it up from there and clean up whatever I screwed up.
No, you're accurate. But I don't want to just speak for the kids in my community. I want to speak for the kids throughout New Mexico. And I think that here in America, we're innovative and creative enough to find ways to still take precautions to prevent kids from getting COVID and spreading that to the rest of their families. Right now, high school coaches are not allowed, essentially with the rules that we have, our hands are tied behind our backs and not being able to work with our kids. We're supposed to start July 15th, but at that, I can't pick up a baseball and hit balls to my kids. I can't throw them batting practice. So if you can't do that in baseball, there's very limited things that you can do. You can only practice base running for so long. But we are regulated by the New Mexico Activity Association, who is taking directive from the governor's office and also with advice from NFHS, National Federation of High Schools, and coordinated with the CDC. However, if you look at things right now, we're funneling everybody into Walmart. We're funneling people into Home Depots, and being out on a tennis court, being out at a baseball field is far safer on top of the precautions that we're going to take. And for us to have those type of restrictions, I think that there's going to be far more collateral damage done to kids than will have been done if we let them go play ball with precautions and we take all the safety measures. But right now in Mexico, USSSA baseball, they're allowed to in group of 10 and work with their coaches, and they're going out of state to play baseball every single weekend. And so those kids that don't have the means to pay $3,000-$4,000 for club ball, they're stuck at home. They have no other outlet, no other option to participate in baseball. And so I'm here and I'm working. I've gotten some help from Senator Michael Padilla, Representative Mo Maestros from the West Side, and they put me in contact. And I'm going to give a call tomorrow to a liaison with the governor's office and see if we can't have some foresight and some common sense take over and figure out a way to where we can get those kids back out on the field.
Coach, let's make sure that all of us have shared this on our Facebook page. So this way we get that message out to our parents, get that message out to whoever, is listening right now where they can see it. And then if they want to watch it tonight, tomorrow, the day after, that message is out. We're on YouTube, on Coach's Champions Corner on YouTube. Coach, this really is about the lack of opportunity. This could affect our kids post-secondary, the kids that might be able to play at that next level, right? They're going to lose opportunity.
Absolutely. Right now I'm struggling to have 2 kids placed in college that we could have had placed this spring had coaches been able to see them and me take them out to colleges. Also, we've had 127 kids over the last 25 years from Rio Grande High School go on to play college baseball, which is the most in the state. And so in order for us to continue that, we have to still keep those relationships and have those kids prepared when the college coaches do come in or when we take them to go for school visits.
I saw a mock draft today on MLB, and you might know who it is. I want to know if he's a local kid, New Mexico local. He was placed 5th, predicting that he's going to get drafted 5th.
Oh,
New
Gonzalez.
Mexico State kid. Is
Yeah.
he a New Mexico kid?
I believe he's from Arizona. Yeah.
Coach, we're talking about the scholarships here, but you also mentioned before we went on, you're worried about the worst collateral damage, which is losing your kids to, things away from the school and the program, right? Talk about that.
Thank you for that question, Sebastian. Yeah. Beyond baseball, if we lose kids to the streets, you don't ever get those kids back. In my baseball program, we've graduated over 99% of our kids in the last 25 years. And, my greatest victory is seeing my kids 10, 15 years down the road and they become great fathers and great husbands. You lose those kids to the streets, they'll never become that. And if our kids aren't, I encourage my kids to play football, basketball, wrestle, etc., off-season sports, off-season for me. And if they're not, they're playing ball with me and building that relationship over 4 years. I feel that if I spend enough time with a kid that I can turn any kid around. And so those kids that are on the fence right now, that are having time for themselves and they're not being involved in any type of endeavor on the athletic field, those kids are going to struggle. They're going to find something out on the streets that attracts them, and we're going to lose those kids to the streets. They're not going to graduate, and we're never going to get them back.
Coach, is it the same thing in your sport?
Well, anyway, I'm an old Rio Grande Raven, class of '62, so I can identify there. In fact, some of the Rio Grande kids at the Metro, I went up to them and I said, "Hey, do you know the fight song?" And they didn't all know it, so I sang the fight song. But no, here are the Ravens rising on high. Yeah. See? Anyway, tennis has gotten some really good things that the U.S. Tennis has done. The United States Tennis Association, which I'm the district coordinator. But There's all kinds of things. The kids aren't allowed to pick up the balls, but we do have in tennis. We do have the the picker-uppers and things like that. We use the cones. They can't touch those, but we've got sanitation. Everything is really regulated. In fact, we've done some dry runs with my tennis kids to help me with my tennis camp, which are kids on my high school team. And everyone, we do the spacing, we do the whole thing, and it's we're ready to go. It's going to be is probably a lot safer than, like you said, Coach. They're out on the street doing something they shouldn't be doing.
And how about with you, Coach? And how is this affecting your
Obviously, the ones who were seniors, I had some girls. I think we were going to have a really fantastic year, and we just had a wonderful team, and we have a couple of girls that I coached at Jefferson too, so I've been with a lot of these kids since 6th grade. So it was really hard this season. It's really hard now not even being able to really have a party because we're trying to abide by all of the what we're required to do through the NMAA. We usually, at Albuquerque High, we have a very mixed group of kids. And we have some kids that can afford to take lessons, but we have a lot of kids that their only time that, like you were talking about, Coach, the only time they're going to get some extra time is the free support that we give over the summer through junior team tennis. And I right now, I don't believe that we're going to have that opportunity, but I'm not feeling that we're going to lose them as much, and maybe it's because it's a bunch of girls, and they're just very committed to tennis and to a lot of other sports. So I don't quite have that worry, but I have the worry that they're not going to be able to build their skills. They're not going to be able to have the tennis careers that they should be able to have. And again, those opportunities to possibly go to college.
Have we followed other states or surrounding states around us, and what are the state associations doing? I know Oklahoma opened up. I don't know what the guidance of what they opened. D1, the Oklahoma Secondary Athletic Association has said that athletics could resume, but I don't know what the guidelines were. On that, have we followed our surrounding states similar to ours or no?
Oh, I'd have to say pretty similar. Arizona's opened up quite a bit, though.
Okay.
Of course, at 2:00 in the afternoon, it's 110 degrees already. So, but it's one of those deals that you have. And our district tennis association sponsors our mid-school league. That's 500, 600 kids. The JV program, APS, has not been able to fund that. So Tennis Association has run that. That's another 500, 600 kids. So you've got, with combined 35, 25, you've got 50 or 60 schools that, the kids aren't necessarily playing. You think of your varsity, but you've got your JV kids, your C team, and I worry about that, and I don't know what the football coaches are going to do because, we're talking 150 kids in some of these programs. So.
Sebastian is going to look at our challenge. We've got La Cueva versus Sandia here in the $100 burger challenge. It's an 8-pound hamburger. Sebastian, what's going on out there?
Well, see, I don't think Orion was taking my advice to add ketchup to lubricate the burger. You're going to get some dryness there, but it looks pretty close. So, Orion,
them burgers are enormous.
Orion with the pizza cut, and then over here with, so you can hard to tell, but it looks pretty even right now, right?
They both look like they're struggling.
I hope not, because
it's just the beginning of the contest, and they both look like they're struggling.
I hope not, because we're in the early innings.
Thank God for the plexiglass.
And they're just taking on the challenge just to get a little bit of competition during this COVID-19 period and trying to get, we can see who's here. KOB's here.
Yeah, our friend Brandon Ortega is here from from KOB, so that's great to see Brandon out. I think Brandon is a secret foodie because he's been covering the offensive alignment, covering the shows that you and Adam's been doing, and now he's here, so I think Brandon's a foodie.
All right, I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna go out and see how both could.
Right, you've been covering all the food stuff, the offensive alignment that you and Adam. So, all right, Coach is gonna check that out. He's getting hungry. Don't let Coach pick it. So there's no cheating. So, we'll get back to kind of what we were talking about a little bit. Coach Grieco, I mean, there's some pretty quirky rules anyway for out-of-season coaching, right? Baseball.
Yeah, essentially, the club ball teams are going 10-to-1 ratio. There's teams right now in Kansas and in Texas playing baseball weekend, and then the following weekend they'll be heading to Arizona. Essentially, right now, as the rules are written, I could take a group of Rio Rancho kids, make a club ball team, and go coach them. Ron Murphy over at Rio Rancho can take my kids in the South Valley and go coach my kids as a club ball team. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. And so I'm not bashing NMAA. I know that their hands are tied, and you always want to err on the side of caution. However, I think that if we put our brains together, that we can come up with some type of compromise that we bring safety into consideration and also get the kids back out there.
Kind of, the inside joke that we have with Coach Ridenauer, Coach Fullerton, and I, we've been group chatting, and the joke we have is, everyone else, every other neighboring state is playing tournaments and playing their sports, and we're washing and sanitizing our balls. That's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, and you don't want to touch any.
That's a pretty good one.
And you don't want to touch other people's balls either.
So yeah, not in phase one at least, right? That's not a phase one activity.
Phase two, we'll get into that, right?
Well, and since we brought up the phases, I have talked to a few football coaches that are just considering skipping phase one, sitting out, letting their athletes keep doing their individual stuff, and then coming back together for phase two. Is that something you've thought about?
Well, I think that, I'm not asking them to open the door and let us start playing tomorrow. Right. I'm talking about going forward as we get into July to consider what direction that we're going. I think that, the ultimate goal was to flatten the curve. We did that. Our peak was May 1st. So 2 weeks after that, the curve was flattened.
Right.
That was almost 3 weeks ago. And so we've done better with COVID, managing COVID, than other states next to us. But they're out there playing tennis. They're out there playing baseball. Their football teams are getting started for high school fall football. So I think that we just need to consider that, are we doing an injustice to our kids because the kids that have money are going to adjacent states, playing ball, and then coming back into the state? That doesn't make any sense at all.
Tennis-wise, how conducive to tennis is phase one? Are you guys going to kind of wait till phase two starts? Will you start some activity in phase one? What are you guys' thoughts on that?
We're just waiting to hear from NMAA and APS. We're ready to go. Picking up the tennis balls. Now we don't have the kids handle anything, not even the baskets. We use the tennis tubes. I have already gotten 4 gallons of Clorox cleaning, and my wife says, "Where are we going to put this?" But we've got everything pretty well ready to go. It's just a matter of trying to find out who's going to give us some direction a little bit.
And it's great for Dick because he runs a great summer camp, and I've had to go through that summer camp. We're just having to be creative. We're lucky with one thing with tennis, that they are at least allowed to go out to courts, and now a lot of the clubs are opening, and they can go play tennis for free. They can just go out with balls and go play with each other. So we're really encouraging our girls to go out and get our players to keep playing. I would really love to start preseason kind of this summer and start making up for all of that time that we lost this season. So I think we're just going to have to be creative. And if I can only go out with 5 girls at a time, I'll go out with 5. I usually do it with the boys. So I'll go out with 5 kids at a time. I'll go out with 5 kids. My assistant coach can go out with 5 kids. But I think we're a little luckier than the larger team sports because you need 2 people and a ball, and you can get out there and lose 4.
Now,
Good point.
I'm gonna go worst case scenario. There's a pretty big possibility that despite the fact that the NMAA has put a date where you can start, that APS can, as usual, put you behind the 8 ball, put you at a disadvantage compared to the Southern schools, compared to other. We've talked about that in 2 previous podcasts where APS rules tend to, put APS coaches at a competitive disadvantage. So that could still happen, right?
Well, very definitely. You know what's happened in the last 2 or 3 years? We've lost matches. We used to have 14 or 15 matches in the spring season. Now it's down to about 9. And we look at our counterparts in Lovington and Carlsbad and Las Cruces, and they're playing 15, 25, 30 matches.
What's the reasoning behind that from APS Athletic?
Well, again, as some of the previous coaches have pointed out, is a money thing about the budget and what percentage of the budget goes to athletics. But it's real frustrating, and we've fought hard to even where schools can share a bus, and the booster clubs can pay for that bus, and we can go to a tournament. We've been invited everywhere. We've been invited to Franklin, down in El Paso, Roswell, Lovington. Every year we get invited. All my friends in Arizona invite us. At Sal Point and in Sabino Canyon in Tucson. It's frustrating because we've tried to even get 3 or 4 schools in a bus, and they won't allow us to travel.
Coach?
Yeah, and we've had the same issue. Some of the other areas of the state are a little more creative, and they have tournaments that are really like 5 or 6 dual matches that they put together and call a tournament that goes over 3 weeks. And so that's why you look at max preps, and there'll be schools that have like 20 dual matches in there, and we're lucky if we have 9 in there. But that's creativity on the part. I don't criticize anybody else for doing things within the rules like that. But we, like Dick, we have been invited to Farmington, down to Carlsbad, down to Las Cruces. And what I get told is it's really an equity issue because we can get our boosters to cover, or we can share a bus, but it's not fair because other schools can't. So I understand that there isn't the travel budget, but it makes it really difficult at seeding time. We often get kind of messed around at the seeding because we have no direct matches throughout the state.
And this is not a COVID-19 issue. This is an issue that you guys face every year.
Yes, this is my 30th year, and it gets frustrating.
And what is the reasoning that we're not allowing our student athletes to have these extracurricular opportunities that directly affect recruiting? You want to elaborate, Coach?
Well, it comes down to money and financial, reasons. I was on a sports-specific committee about 9-10 years ago with Jim Briggs from Manzano, and we had Chad Kuhn and several other coaches. And basically, what we had suggested is that we start charging for baseball games. There's games at our park that we get 700-800 people at a ball game. I go to high school football games and basketball games. I don't see 700-800 people there. And so, Sebastian, you've been at some of our games. You see it's just a packed house.
You go for the red chili, and you stay for Orlando's brand of baseball. It's a packed out. Both lines, first base lines.
And
what's the reasoning behind not charging into those places?
I think they think that it would be too much hassle for work. But, for us, it gives us about, I think, 12.
Rio Rancho in Cleveland charges for admission to their baseball game.
Correct. And so, they give us about $1,200-$1,300 for equipment every year. And that's great. But every 4th or 5th year, we get about $4,000 for uniforms. But if you do the math, and we have 10 home games, and we're getting 800 people, if you just charge $2 a head, one game covers more than what they give us on a yearly basis. And so I think that some sports can become self-functional and even subsidize other non-revenue sports that don't get the same credit.
Or has that been revisited?
You know
since
what?
that time?
I suggested it 3 consecutive years and it fell on dead ears. So they disbanded the sports-specific committee, and I suggested it to our athletic director, who's passed that on to during the athletic director meetings. So I don't know where it's ended up with that, but
just to be clear,
but I just think that those are some creative ideas that people would be willing to part with $2 a head to go watch a baseball game down at Rio Grande High School.
So our viewers know that is an APS specific choice, right?
Why?
Why is that
an APS specific choice? Like, why are you not allowed to charge a $2 admission, which I'm sure the fans would be more than willing to play? Why is that? In other words, why are you not allowed to say, hey, we're going to raise as much money? Right. We're going to raise, our booster club is going to raise funds so we can benefit the kids.
Right. And
we're going to charge an admission so we can benefit the kids. What's going on?
Well, and my suggestion is that we take every APS for baseball and softball that we charge at all the baseball and softball games on APS campuses. We put that money into a big pot and we split it up between the teams.
And that would be equitable because, they couldn't come with their usual argument of, well, it's not fair to this school and that school. If it goes into a general fund, I just don't understand what the pushback has been from the APS side. I'd love, John, can you get us an APS person one day, you think? I mean, I'd love to hear the logic behind that because there can't be any.
Yeah, I can try to. I know several of them that work in athletics. Being devil's advocate, maybe their argument is it's going to cost them more to pay employees than they're I'm just playing devil's advocate, thinking why they would make that type of rationale. But no, we can try and get somebody in here from APS, or we'll just even do a telephone interview with Kenny Barrera or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, that's our option.
The bottom line is this. Last week we talked about, hey, and maybe, this week we're talking about competitive advantage. But this, I don't understand because it just seems like these rules hurt certain kids. These rules hurt. We've got to change. One of the things that I had talked about. Go ahead, Coach.
Well, I was just going to say, in baseball, we're allowed to play 26. Rio Rancho High School plays 26. APS schools play 24. Our JV team plays, I believe, 17, and our freshman schedule's down to like 12 or 13 now.
Yeah.
Baseball games.
Just interrupt. Yes, I know the frustration immediately. I mean, I'm thinking about a tennis match, 6 singles and 3 doubles, and you usually use the same can of balls for the doubles. So it takes six cans of balls to play a tennis match. That's fairly inexpensive. And if we can't get more than nine dual matches during the season, something's wrong with that. The freshman, the JV program, APS doesn't even pay for. I mean, Northern Mexico Tennis Association pays for that. Golf is the same way. I think their association. But anyway, it needs to be looked at because it's not fair to the kids, especially when you've got a good volume of kids that are playing tennis. In our tennis program, between the JV and the varsity program, and the girls, we probably got close to 120 kids playing. Who's winning? Who's winning right now?
It looks like the Bears are in front.
I got to flash my shirt, give them a little incentive there.
Daddy $100.
One of the things when I came to Albuquerque originally was with the New Mexico Stars out at Rio Rancho, and the reason why I was interested in the job is because to me it seemed like Albuquerque was 10 years behind everybody else. When I mean everybody else, other states. And I thought there was an opportunity there that I said, man, in indoor football, we can take advantage of Albuquerque maybe being a little bit behind the times than other cities that had indoor football.
So Orion switched strategies. He's removed the bun. He's going straight for the meat now.
Is that what he's
He's
doing?
got to catch up. So he's got to, you got to go to plan. You got to bring in the lefty and try something else here.
That boy better compete. Orion, you better compete. And so one of the things that maybe, I would always say, I love Albuquerque, love Albuquerque, New Mexico, love, I love this town, this place, the people, the culture, the food. I love everything about it. But it seems like it's behind the times in people, with especially like in these issues, to be able to not. I just don't get that you can't charge for your games. That what is the thought process behind that? I'm from Oklahoma. You got little towns in Oklahoma that are charging for their fan base to come into the. I'm talking about little towns charging. You need to support it. What is the thought process in not being able for you coaches to be able even to help with revenue for your kids, for your kids?
I can't begin to speak for somebody else or get into the mind of somebody else. I thought it was a common sense suggestion. I once heard somebody from APS say that common sense ain't so common anymore. So
should be the motto.
But I think that, that common sense should always prevail. And if it's something that if we're having money problems, let's figure out how to fix it so our kids aren't the ones that sacrifice and, find some way to raise some money to subsidize so our kids have the same opportunity as kids right down the road in Rio Rancho,
right.
Los Lunas, Moriarty, Belen, etc.
So you've been talking about.
I'm curious how that's never been challenged legally.
Yeah.
Because at its face, that looks very inequitable. So
you've been talking about since we took this cause up, competitive advantage.
Right.
And that literally is a competitive advantage for the outside schools that you're playing. And so I understand how frustrating that must be, because I'm getting frustrated just, listening to, because you go, how is that possible? In today's day and age where the last week we see people fighting for change, we see everything that's going, across the country for change, and you would think something as small as this would be this difficult to accomplish. Like when Coach says, if with the fan base, you get about, you said 700-800 people that come to your game.
There's times,
and you charge $2 a head. What's $2 a head?
I don't understand why that wouldn't just go to a vote of the coaches or to the vote of the ADs, or at least be put on the table, right? You're saying it hasn't even been put on the table. It's just been,
correct.
Okay, that's nice, Coach.
Why do you think it hasn't been brought on the table? Is it just something that we've overlooked? Is it something, give me a little bit of history on how you have tried to open up some eyes and some, basic opportunities to raise funding other places. I know state associations all out of state welcome the opportunity for different funding to come in.
I believe that they think that it won't be profitable, but I went to games
have they been to any baseball games?
I went to go watch year before last, opening weekend of the season. I go down to watch La Cueva and Las Cruces. The place was packed.
Yeah.
And later on that evening, we played a night game. Our place was packed.
And Orlando has lights there at Rio Grande, so they get a huge crowd when they have night game. I know when I used to go watch a game during the day, I would always look on Max Preps. Oh man, I hope Rio's got a night game, because then you can catch two games.
Yeah, and so that same day I went to Sandia, watched them play. I think they were playing El Dorado, and that place was packed. I went and watched Las Cruces and La Cueva playing. They were packed. That night we were packed. That's 3 fields right there, that you probably threw away $6,000-7,000.
That is unbelievable.
In one day.
To say we're going to throw that kind of revenue away in a day and age when a lot of states are going to pay to play,
right,
because they can't generate, or they're canceling sports, or, for our young athletes.
And the attendance is good. I mean, Orlando's right. Like I only went to about probably between 8 or 10 games that I didn't broadcast. But every one of those games I went to, one time it was standing room at your place, in the rain no less, standing room. One time it was standing room at Valley to watch Coach Kuhn's a friend of mine. So, I mean, the crowds are definitely there to make money. It's really expensive.
We think of recruiting, and I think I mentioned this last week, we think of recruiting as sending our athletes to UNM or State or OU or whatever. But we've got great schools in this state in Highlands, in Northern, and Western. We've got great schools that these kids can extend through sport their academic career. And to think that we're throwing away possible opportunities, eyes on athletes at these secondary tournaments, these secondary things, eyes on athletes, but yet revenue. What did you say your budget is? $1,200 a year, and you get new uniforms every 4 years?
And Gerard said that doesn't even pay for the dirt. Remember when Gerard was on?
Exactly.
Between summer, fall, and spring baseball, we go through, between practice and game balls, about $6,000 worth of baseballs a year. Our baseball budget, the money we raise, usually lands around $35,000 to $40,000 a year of money that the kids raise.
And so you have presented, one of the things that I've always talked about, it's easy to identify the problem. What's the solution? So when I would talk over the years to people and we would talk about problems, I would say, what's the solution? You've presented solutions and they get shot down?
Well, I was going to say, before we get to that, if that's the baseball budget, I can only imagine what the tennis, they give you a couple of cans of balls.
Well, remember, we have, of course, we've got the JV program going, as well as the mid-school program, but in the spring, the JV program, which the District Tennis Association runs. But, they don't provide the balls or anything. Liz and I she gets 4 cases of balls, and I get 4 cases of balls for the whole season.
And
now we also
uniforms, $905, I think it was, every 4 years. We had to wait 5 years this time.
Okay, so here's a question. The revenue thing has got me perplexed. I know every football game that I've been to, you got to buy a ticket. Why is it in football they'll charge for tickets, but not in?
They don't think that there's a big enough fan base, and I disagree with that. I think that there is. And people have been, we play at Trisco, we play Valley. Yeah. Wrestling does as well.
Even in tennis, we have some really exciting matches. I mean, I know that if Albuquerque High girls play the El Dorado girls, I think you'd have at least 200 people there. If we played at Albuquerque Academy, which is our top rival, I know we'd have at least 100, 200 people there. Always.
We have a lot of people watching these 2 young athletes eating a hamburger tonight.
If this competition was APS sanctioned, they wouldn't let us charge.
Yeah.
I just don't. Football, basketball, wrestling charges admission, and you guys aren't allowed to do that? I just don't understand. It's archaic.
I mean, who cares if there's 100 people there? Well, who cares? It's still 100 people.
I don't care if there's 10 people there. You know what I'm saying? At least if you got 10 people there, you buy the hot dogs for the athletes after the game or something. I just don't get it.
I think both these sports can benefit from if you guys can do 50-50 raffles, right? Again, APS doesn't a lot, but other schools.
I've been to a Bernalillo basketball game where the 50-50 raffle gets up to like $500.
Yeah. I mean, they have these ridiculous rules put in place for fundraising just in APS. Now, what we're trying to do throughout this whole thing is shine a light on the districts that are just up the hill, just on the other sides of the mountains, to not create a disadvantage that you guys face. So, for whatever reason, they don't allow you guys to charge, but at least allow you to do other fundraising that other school districts can do. I mean, don't you guys agree?
It's kind of embarrassing, the state tournament when we get there, and This year, and Liz, I think you would have probably been number one seed in the women. And we were hoping to be number one seed in the boys, the girls and the boys. And but you look around at the state tournament and the teams that roll off the bus. I mean, they have a new uniform after every match, and it's I'm going, wow. We're mighty La Cueva, right? Well, we don't quite have the budget those schools have.
That's hard to believe in 2020. That what would the word be? Inequity? What would the word be?
Yeah, and we are allowed to do fundraisers. We've done things like car washes, but it is terribly bureaucratic dealing with everything. But I think one of the issues, and I love APS. I was a teacher for APS. I've loved working for Albuquerque High School. But I do think when you have a very large school district of 90,000 plus kids, you tend to get mired down in a bureaucracy that isn't as nimble as Carlsbad or Farmington, who can do these things because they're just a smaller place. So it's not
Good
an
point.
excuse, but I do think it explains because they've got so many sports they're dealing with, and tennis is a teeny little blip.
Well, and when you go back to talking to like attendance-wise, if they think if it's an attendance issue, I mean, they can look at state baseball revenue. Like, I can speak from experience. If you're going to go to a Rio Grande playoff game, get there an hour early if you want to be sitting. I mean, right? So, I mean, the numbers are there. The numbers are there that the attendance in baseball, I don't think it's terrible. I've always covered a lot of baseball games, and the attendance hasn't been bad. So I don't. That is a really bad cop out if they think that baseball games are not well attended.
How have you allowed this to happen? You're like the voice of reason, the voice for coaches. You say you've had the number one show on the local focus is the number one show on ProView. How have you allowed this to happen? How have you not given this a voice?
Right? I don't. It's crazy.
It's one thing if we're saying we want more money from you, APS.
Orion's got a lot of bread left if he's going to catch up to. Look, he's doing okay on the meat.
Taylor Burton kicking his butt on that burger. The goal is that they both finish within the hour.
Yeah. The goal is they make it out the front door, and that doesn't look like it's going to happen.
One of the things that I always
Orion, they're making fun of you, Orion.
Let's go. But almost all the meat is gone. Look at Orion, but he's got all that bread and all those fries.
It just reminds me of
He looks like he's in considerable discomfort. Look at his face, Coach. That's your boy.
He better not. Is he my boy? Is that my son? We don't want to get the viewers out there to say like we're giving him any, preferential treatment around here.
Where's Joey Chestnut when we need him, right?
Joey Chestnut. And he's about to go to work in a couple of weeks again. I wonder if they're going to allow that to happen. I watch that. I don't know if you guys. I watch that every 4th of July.
Oh, me
I watch
too.
The hot dog eat.
And then I go to the bathroom. But the water in the bread is the key, and you got to jam it down.
Yeah.
So I had a serious question. For
Okay, let's ask you a serious question, because the question I want to ask is, let's put our heads together and come up with a solution.
Right. Well, the one thing I didn't want to ask, though, because it would be irresponsible not to, since we have a coach of a female sport here now, are there any inequities based on gender? And if the answer is no, then we just move right on. But it would be irresponsible not to ask that.
Oh man, you put me on the spot. In societies like everything going on now, there's always inequities based on the fact that in general, in this society, women's sports do not enjoy the same level of support of men's sports. But I know with Title IX, and I know everybody tries to be very, very equitable
They try to be
and compliant. But I mean, it is one of those issues. They made cheerleading a sport so that they could try and balance out some of the larger other sports. And so I think if they could balance it out in sports like tennis by allowing us to have JVs and have more girls participate that way, those kids don't even, we're allowed, it's me and one unpaid assistant. We're not allowed to have any more coaches. And so, I don't begrudge anything because I love sports. And I would not want to hurt boys' sports so the girls get more stuff.
Well, the boys' sports seem to have the same challenge too.
I would
The
say
football coaches don't have enough coaches. The pay is not equitable. It's just. I think
it's a systemic issue.
Yeah.
It's a systemic issue.
And so, coaches, what do you feel is the solution? You've come up with, hey, let's charge at the gate, which is just mind-boggling that doesn't happen. What's a solution that you think? Is it that do you have representation at the table? The Tennis Coaches Association, the Baseball Coaches Association. I mean, is this a collective bargaining issue? Sebastian? How is this possible?
It seems just from listening to Coach Johnson that they have a pretty good tennis association here that kind of makes up for a lot of APS shortcomings. But if that association wasn't in place, we'd be looking at a dire situation. Right?
We'd be up, without a paddle.
You can say that, Coach, on this podcast.
We'd have no paddle. But it's one of those things I'd really like to see soon. When hopefully this madness ends, that we sit down with APS, and we used to have a committee. You used to have a committee with baseball too, and that's gone away. So, I know in MAA we had a committee. I was the head of that for a couple of years, and some great representation throughout the state. And but now we don't have any representation. It's just kind of mandated.
My question is, how is Enchanted Sports not on this?
Hey, talk to Editor-in-Chief Mark Smith. That's
Mark Dickey-Smith and Sebastian Noel are very opinionated in issues at hand in sports.
Dick serves on a board with Mark, so maybe he could, get Mark on that beat.
I think we need to get Mark Dickey-Smith and Sebastian Noel on this.
That would be good.
What do we have to do, Sebastian? You're a protege of Mark Dickey-Smith. What do we have to do?
Those terms loose, is sparingly responsible.
It's out there. People know.
Have people that like me.
It's out there. People know. You can't hide it anymore. You're a writer for Enchanted Sports.
Contributor. Unpaid contributor.
I saw him last week. He was on Enchanted Sport. Did I not see Sebastian Noel covering a protest for Enchanted Sports?
What about the State Coaches Association, though? I mean, have they taken up this cause in any way? Do they just put on all-star games? What's their role?
No, it's just because it doesn't involve the whole state. It involves our school district.
So are there metro-specific associations?
No, I don't believe so. No, we're all like I'm a member of the New Mexico High School Baseball Coaches Association, and I know each sport has their own association, but they're not going to take up a cause for a local school district.
So all this really does have almost an APS Sports Coaches Association is what it looks like it's needed.
Timothy Johnson has asked a question. Timothy asked, what needs to be done to advance high school sports in New Mexico, in your opinion?
Well, I started in 1996, and 3 years into coaching high school baseball at Rio Grande, I decided that I wanted to get lights at our baseball field because not a single APS baseball field or softball field has lights. And I've always believed that we were in the horse and buggy days. And so I think that we got to get a lot smarter with our money. I think that like any other large entity, which APS is, that sometimes we become a penny smart and a dollar stupid. And so I think we have to be innovative. Simple ideas like I suggested earlier about charging at the gate and then putting that money in one fund and splitting it equitably between all the softball and baseball programs throughout APS. So we all have the same amount of money we would become self-sufficient. We wouldn't need to depend on APS giving us money anymore.
But I mean, this is going to be some inside baseball, so pardon the pun. But the coaches really do need to support each other on this, because I can remember when Orlando got lights, those coaches weren't all on board.
Correct.
I mean, just to peel the curtain back, they go, "Oh, that's not fair. Why is he playing in the lights? Our kids aren't used to all that." So, coaches in your district have not been thrilled about it in the past, right? So they weren't even together on that.
Right. And I've been there since 1996. Some of those guys have, just started the last 5-6 years,
Right.
And so, they thought that coming and playing at our field under the lights was a huge disadvantage for their team. But I think it's a great environment, and I went 8 straight years to the legislature to try to get money for the lights, and I think I can compare it to the guy on Shawshank Redemption. He kept writing the legislator until he got money. They finally said, "You know what? We're going to give him the lights." This is how we'll get rid of them. We'll give them money for the lights.
Yeah. Coach, following up on, Tim Johnson's question, what needs to be done to advance high school sports in New Mexico? What's your opinion on that? What needs to be done?
Well, there definitely needs to be better communication between, the athletic department of APS and with the coaches. We need to sit down. We need to have our committees going again, and we need to all work together. I mean, this is something that, like Liz, I don't think about the money at all. I mean, this was going to be my 30th year, but and I haven't seen too many changes. It goes even with the construction of the courts. We've had to resurface our courts maybe 5 or 6 times in the last 20 years. And if they ever did it the right way, if they would listen to one of us and say, "Hey, this is how you do the post tension with the cement down below, then the asphalt," we wouldn't have to resurface those courts every 5 years.
It would save money.
Yeah, it would save money in the big picture. Our courts are about, we've been state champion in 5A, 15 out of the last 20 years, but we've also, there have been times where we've had to play other places because our courts are unplayable.
Unbelievable.
I mean, does anyone in that building listen?
Right. Same question.
Okay, so I wouldn't even go to middle school, Dick, and I think we need to start funding APS, funding them. They fund some sports, but things like tennis are not funded, and they're often the first to go as soon as there's a budget problem, and I think that's been a lot of the problems lately. And I do think I want to back Dick on the sports committees in APS, because I don't know why we couldn't have a rotation of teams able to go play against Carlsbad, Mayfield. It doesn't always have to be Albuquerque High or the Cueva. It could be Rio Grande. It could be any of the teams that get to travel. But at least I think it would make sports more vibrant if all of the sports were able to play the other teams from the south to the north. I just think it would be better for the teams.
It would really stop that dreaded seeding meeting right before the state tournament. That's the day I hate to go to, because we don't have common opponents because we haven't been able to play them. It's that simple.
Or their record is based on 18 matches and yours is based off of 9.
Yes.
It's not fair. You can't even compare that. When we go and maybe it's a seeding of being an 8 or 9 seed, and the team that you're competing against had 2 more games than you. Well, they had 2 more opportunities to put wins up that you didn't.
That's another enormous issue. So you're getting seeded with teams that play double your games.
Well, double in tennis, but in baseball, it might have been 2 or 3 more games. Yeah.
How have you dealt with that? That's the reason why you're saying that's the dreaded meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting time, but over the years you've gotten to know some of the coaches down south, and everyone has been pretty decent about it. But it gets pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy.
I know when you how's it going over there?
Orion's down to just some bread and fries. I mean, but it's not as easy as it sounds.
What's Mr. Burton?
He's still got,
So
Man, look, how much time is left on the clock?
How do you spell miserable?
They both look miserable, don't they? You know, should we do something? Should we start a chant like man?
Food's winning.
Man? Because looks like the food is kicking their ass.
You know, it's
Stand up. When I was pregnant, they used to put that down there. Now
well, I told Orion that the original host of Man vs. Food, he would stand up when he hit the food wall. So
that's what you got to do. It goes down.
maybe that, but
They're both eating like they're like out on the patio and they're visiting and like they're not going up against the clock. And
now Burton's got more fries left. Burton's got a little more fries left. But man, that's a lot of bread. I'd hate to leave that bread for the end.
I think if you dunk that bread though, that's going to shrink it in half.
That's what they do in the hot dog competition.
You know, I think that's the thing where they go. You know, one of the things, coaches, you know, in closing out, you know, we talked with last week's coaches, and, you know, we're going to make a pledge to talk about these issues every week. We're going to talk about these issues every week because it's what's best for our student athletes. You know, my son, who is a student athlete at Sandia, he's going to start his junior year, you know, and hopefully, you know, in a couple of weeks.
Not after this burger thing.
Yeah, hopefully in a couple of weeks. And so we want what's best for our athletes. I want to be able to help Coach Adcock, who is his football coach, and Coach Brown, who's his basketball coach, have the tools that they need that other coaches in other states have to benefit their students.
Not only other states, but Rio Rancho,
Yes.
Cleveland, down south.
Yeah, up north.
I remember a car ride to cover a football game with Bruce Carver, and Bruce was telling me, hey, when he was the AD there at Hobbs, they brought in a new football coach. That football coach was like, man, it'd be nice to have the biggest flag in the city. One phone call later, flagpole on the football field.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And so it's imperative that, you know, we take up this platform with you guys and we're going to be consistent in talking about some of the issues week in and week out. And, you know, we're going to do, our plans are once this thing starts getting rolling again to do some remote shows at some events and some of the, you know, events and stuff like that because our student athletes, today's day and
I
age.
say we take this on the road outside a APS board meeting or something.
Yeah, right.
That's what we need to do. That's
They're
what
not
we
going to
need.
let us in, so we'll have to broadcast
Yeah,
from the front
from the
door.
parking lot. Yeah,
From
exactly.
the front door, we'll have to broadcast. Which we're going to be creative. Like that's the bottom line. And this is not to point a finger at APS or maliciously or anything else like that. We have to update. Everything gets updated in the world. We have to update because our student athletes. We can't have our student athletes ahead of, you know, APS athletics as far as with, you know, technical development and you know.
Well, when there's an increase in the budget and the superintendent's pay goes up, and, you know, once every 30 years they throw some crumbs at the teachers. Why hasn't the coach's stipend ever gone up when we go back to money? I mean, like you said, we're never going to make coaches rich in the state of New Mexico.
Coaches don't get into it.
But that doesn't mean that it can't just move up with the times like other APS expenditures.
Yeah, and even though we're not going to make coaches rich, we talked about it last week. Coaches have to feed their families. You know, with the sacrifice that all of you have made, it's not just you making a sacrifice. It's your wives, it's your kids, it's your, you know, in my son's lifetime, I've coached in 5 different states in his lifetime. You know, he's going into his junior year, and I've coached in 5 different states. Our families make supreme sacrifices. But, for example, with you, Coach, we talked about it last week. Statistics prove with our young ladies that play extracurricular activities, the teenage pregnancy rate is night and day as compared to our young ladies that don't. The dropout rate is night and day compared to the dropout of our ladies that don't. And so that's the thing that we need to bring out, you know, those statistics. We need to open those parents' eyes to say, because I think if we can activate the parents and get the parents involved. You know, will that make a difference if our parents are like?
Yeah, I think parents do make a difference.
Huge. That's huge.
There's torches.
Parents really need to
I
get
think a lot of what
involved.
happens is with us coaches that we end up donating most of our salaries
Exactly.
and buying things, and we make things work, and our parents help us. And to be honest, I mean, my energy is all in those girls all season. That's where my energy is. And by the end of the season, you go, okay, we made it through. But I do know the boys' coaches, didn't they make some proposal at the seating meeting, APS singles?
Yes.
Then the boys coaches started early because that's what we need to do. We need to be talking about it now and before the season, before we're in the midst of it.
Well, you know, even in the APS singles, I know we have to wrap up pretty quick here, but APS singles, the eight different flights at the start of the season, it's kind of a kickoff to the public school season. Every single flight, the winner gets a little plaque, but the other kid who fought his way through, girl or boy, they don't get anything. There's nothing for the runner-up. And for some of those kids that are the finalists, man, that's pretty darn good to have gotten in the finals against, you know, I hate to say it, many times Cueva or Albuquerque High or El Dorado. And there's been some kids, you know, they just say, well, nice job, you're in the finals. Oops. I've even offered to donate, you know, the plaques. Northern New Mexico donate the plaques. It just it goes to the air.
Yeah.
I you know, earlier we were talking about the shortage of games or matches in tennis and shortage of games in baseball. I would be willing even to, and I believe that other schools would. What's the number? What's the cost of one more game? What's the cost of two more games? And then that program has to subsidize to play those extra games. If I wanted to play my full allotment of 26 games, then I pay for those extra 2 games. You know, in Arizona and Texas, before they get to the state tournament, they played about 34 baseball games.
Well, not only that, but it seems like whenever the baseball season starts, by the time I go to my first baseball game, Rio Rancho's come back from 2 out-of-state tournaments, and they've already played 10 games.
Correct.
Is that just me? Or
This year, Rio Rancho, we all got shut down on the 12th of March. I believe they had played 9 or 10 games, and we had just finished our 5th. So I just think that, you know, let's get everybody on a fair playing field, and if that means that each individual school, I don't care that I come from a different community than Coach has up at La Cueva. We can go out and work and raise that money.
Very definitely.
You know, I'm not, and if they have something more because they raise more money, I'm not against that. You know, we'll just work harder to get to the same level he's at.
Coaches, we really thank you for coming down, and you always have an open invite. Coach, how was that Mesquite Wood Grilled Papa Burger that you ate?
I'm ready for 4 more.
Is that
That was fantastic.
You want to
Yes.
help those guys out? Because they look like they need tap out. We look like we have to go to the bullpen. Let's bring in the southpaw.
I would, but it looks like they fought it all.
Ryan's down to just bread and fries.
You know, we thank you for coming down, and you're always welcome back. We're going to talk about this every week.
Thank you, Coach.
Now, Coach,
Thank you for what you're doing.
being from England, have you gotten to watch the Premier Soccer League, the Bundesliga, since it's the only thing going?
He brings Bundesliga up every week. Every show he brings up Bundesliga. I'm annoyed just the way he pronounces it. It's annoying. Bundesliga. You know, like,
People are
what
fighting.
does the word Bundesliga mean?
It's the national league.
What does it mean?
It's the national German league.
Okay.
Bundesliga. Yeah. And so people are finding a new love for German soccer because it's the only thing
They
going.
are.
Yeah.
Okay. How many of you watch Bundesliga?
I've missed a lot of it so far, Coach.
Okay. Thank you.
But the Australian Rugby League is going to be on pretty soon, and I'm going to look for our former Lobo player.
Okay. Yes,
Yeah.
the basketball player.
Yeah.
Yes.
Orlando, have you been watching some Korean baseball at 5:30 in the
I
morning?
have not done that.
I have
And
not.
with
No.
the,
I've been doing home projects that I put off for the last 15 years.
Look at that.
My lawn has never looked better.
I've seen Facebook posts of your backyard. It's an immaculate
Well,
condition.
Thank you.
Bob Brown is a regular on our show, and so during this COVID, he hasn't been able to come down during this COVID, and he's telling me his yard is amazing now.
He's not going to invite you. He's just telling you about it.
Exactly. Well, I won't go all the way up there either, so he won't come down here during the COVID. I won't go all the way up there during the COVID. So, coaches, thank you for coming down, man. I'm digging that. You know, that looks like almost like an Oreo Speedwagon emblem.
It is exactly an Rio Speedwagon logo.
Is that what it's taken off of?
That's my favorite band, so I converted it to a Rio Grande logo.
Coach, let me tell you a little bit about Rio Speedwagon. The first concert that I ever went to in my life was in the Kansas Coliseum way back like in 1981. I saw Rio Speedwagon when they were the biggest in the country, right? I went back home after the school year and they were playing like in June or July, Madison Square Garden. So I went to go see them.
High Infidelity.
You know, yes, exactly. So I went to 2 shows, the Kansas one and the one at Madison Square Garden. Orion is my son. And so he has an older brother, and he's 10 years older than Orion. And the first concert that he saw in his life, you know, he's 26 years old, was Rio Speedwagon.
Right on.
Okay?
Kevin Cronin.
You know, Gary Richrath, you know, I know them all, you know, Kratzer. And Orion, asked him the first concert that he's seen in his life, Rio Speedwagon.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't a designed thing.
It just happened that way.
It just happened that way that all 3 of us, our first concerts, they were different years though. All 3 of us were different years. Rio Speedwagon was our first concerts that they ever went to.
Yeah,
Did you see Rio Speedwagon on the Ozarks show?
I did not see them, but I saw them a couple years ago.
No, they were on the TV show, the Ozarks,
Right,
the Netflix show.
Episode
Gary
3, season
Richrath was like
3.
an embezzler on the show. I mean, not Gary Richrath. Kevin Cronin's like an embezzler on the show.
Yeah.
You know?
I saw him. The first time I saw him was 1983 at Tingley Coliseum with Journey, Bryan Adams, and Rio Speedwagon. Great concert.
That is a great concert. So thank y'all for coming on, man.
Thank you. God bless.
And we're going to see you guys again. We're going to bring you out. We're going to period. Like I said, we're going to talk about this every week. We want as many male and female coaches in the APS to come on. So if you know some coaches that really can, you know, talk about and get the message across, we want them on. So we're going to talk about this every week. We're going to talk about it.
Coach, I got to get you out to a Rio Grande baseball.
I definitely want to talk
I know.
about it.
to sing the last song of the news tonight. I want to have you all right here stand up. Come stand over here. Everybody, let's give these guys a good round of applause. As you know, they had 1 hour to finish the challenge burger. They almost did it. They did more than anybody else has. And for that, I'm going to give them a consolation prize. So they're each going to get a t-shirt that says, read it, open it up. I ate a $100 burger at the grill. Woo! There you go. Thank you guys. Great job, guys. That was a great job.
Already updated the Chiron $600 burger challenge.
We might need to get Orlando back in here to help coach fundraise. Orlando's a really good fundraiser. He might have to teach you how to come up with a quick $200 because no one can fundraise like Orlando. But I'm telling you, Coach, Orlando's been. He kind of shared how he got the lights. I'm not using them. Orlando kind of shared how he got the lights, at his stadium. So he's never been afraid to have to make those phone calls. He's never been afraid to have to. Reach out to Mo Maestas, reach out to the people in charge. I mean, they have a real champ in that community with Orlando. I've known Orlando for a little while, and they have a real champ in that community with Orlando.
Welcome, guys. Is my mic on?
It's not on. Oh, there's my mic.
Hey, Coach,
There's
thank
my
you
mic.
so much for having us.
Got a little
Guys,
distortion.
A little crazy in the studio today, and so what? Thank you, brother. Thank you, man. That's awesome, man. Awesome.
A lot of excitement here today.
Awesome. Champions Corner and the Grill sponsoring an eating contest.
This is cool.
Friend of the program, Brandon Ortega.
Brandon,
Big shout out.
we need to get Brandon on.
No, I'm sure he'd love to. Brandon's a big guitar guy. He's got a lot of interests outside of
nice.
his job.
I'm a guitar guy. I love guitars, man.
Sebastian,
Yeah.
you're the one that got Brandon here, so that's a great job. And getting him here covering the eating contest. Fellas, introduce yourself
Well, my name, I'm Casper Gomez.
And I'm Michael Rascon.
And what we do is we do a show called The Plug and Play. It's on Facebook. You look it up. What we're doing is we're providing free commercial services for local businesses, and we're winding that up with a bunch of green screen skits and music. And it's kind of like a Saturday Night Live, but it's all in Albuquerque, all local business.
Yeah, and right now, given the lockdown situation and stuff, I think it was very important to let the general public know that a lot of these businesses are still open. And even now, as we move toward the second phase and reopen, we want to let them know, come on out,
Right.
So what was the origin of this? You guys started this business? This was an idea?
It's kind of I got a green screen and was doing some funny little bits at first, and that kind of spurred into let's go to these local businesses that are still open. What we'll do is we'll do a show there, and we'll wrap it up in this whole little green screen skit show that involves music. But then everything got worse, and they said, stay home, don't go anywhere. And what we did is we just started providing commercials for these businesses, and then still winding up the green screen humor into it too.
How long have you guys been doing it?
So at this point, I actually started collaborating with Casper back in February. And in early March, when the announcement was made by Michelle Lujan Grisham, where, we were going to start kind of, following parameters and stuff, we had, like Casper said, we had the idea to go out to the places. But once everything closed down, we thought we can and will still help these businesses out completely free of charge, whether it's a brewery, a restaurant, a local artist, or even local musicians. We have local musicians submit their music on our show, and we let,
we do music reacts. So we'll sit and listen to it. But we've hit 5 episodes so far. 5 episodes.
A business that started with COVID, Sebastian.
Yes.
A business that started with that. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And restaurants, obviously, this is a time, I know with restaurants starting back up now, I mean, advertising revenues are going to be really small. The businesses are going to be really careful with who they can advertise with. So when you guys get out the word for free of what businesses are still open,
right?
I know that's a great thing. I mean, especially for like a local guy like Phil here,
You know, we've been able to provide a little bit of advertising through the podcast.
Right.
I know the radio has helped him some, but for a mom and pop shop to get some free advertising,
That's what it's all about.
Fantastic.
That's what the whole motion was. Is like, let's just try to hype the business. But my whole idea was, we can't have musicians, we can't have an audience, we can't have what we normally have in a public place, which is people. So I said, how can we combine musicians, artists, business, and still wind it up with the music and make it all in one show? And that's what spawned Plug and Play.
So how many businesses have responded to,
We've got sponsors.
Nice.
We got La Mexicana down there in downtown. They sponsor us with chips, the very best tortilla chips in the world. We've got Capital Construction, the roof doctor, who does great roof repair, roof restoration. They take care of everything you'll ever need, Capital Construction. We've done the grill, obviously. We've been at Hollow Spirits. Safe House Distilling. What's more?
Well, we have the 377 Brewery, and we also, as of today, we just filmed a segment over at the Broken Trail Spirits over on Manal, right next to the Coronado Mall. And man, it's awesome over there.
377 is a good spot.
Oh, yeah.
My God.
Oh, yeah.
Cliff over there is great. Yeah.
Anna's my cousin.
No.
Wow.
That's what's up.
As a matter of fact, the way to tie all our show together, the way I stumbled upon the 377 was after I covered a Rio Grande baseball game. Drove by it on the way home. I was like, oh, well, wait a minute. Turn around.
It's such a great spot.
It's a good spot.
So that's another thing, is we really want to, we're going to do a mini documentary on the grill because of all the detail that goes into this man's work. Phil is a gem.
Right.
We feel more people need to know about how he's making his food on that very, very special all charcoal, all mesquite grill. How he preps his food, the type of food he's buying. It's just something special, and we've kind of gotten passion for hyping these businesses.
Obviously, he's one of our big sponsors.
Right.
ASEA, this biotech company, is a sponsor of what we do. And, our goal with our podcast was to just provide a little bit of information for people who are getting tired of watching Netflix and, Prime.
Although I did read that, did you read
now?
that crazy bitch Carol Baskin? She got that property in.
Oh my God! Did she?
But we read that. Did you read too that the statute of limitations was run out on
Oh,
that,
really?
so they can't prosecute her on that?
Wow.
So she got. We know they're going after her for murder. We know.
You know how I know that she killed her husband?
Tell me.
O.J. Simpson came out and said so.
Interesting.
Hey, there's some sources that are more reliable than others,
OJ knows.
OJ always knows.
Because if Bo would have said it, nobody would have believed him.
And so the process of what you do with a business, you go and talk to a business.
Yeah, we would.
Give us the process. Like you're
So
talking
we'll
to
do-
Champions Corner
we'll
right
go ahead
now.
and-
So you go, hey, Champions Corner, here's what we
And
want
let's
to
just
do.
put it this way. What we'll do is we'll kind of search the area and say, okay, who's self-sufficient? There's places that are really doing well still. But there are some places that are hurting so bad they're about to close. Those are the ones that we're going to. We'll contact the business owner. We'll say, we're going to come down. We're going to film you for 30 seconds talking about your business. I edit everything to make sure it sounds good. And then we throw that into the show, and that's the plug for that show. And then we play some music and play around.
And this is for your podcast.
This is for our it's a video shows. But
Okay.
yeah, this is for our thing. And again, it's in collaboration with each business for each
And
show.
we actually have noticed that, since we've started doing this, the business has picked up little by little for Hollow Spirits, Safe House. So we're making somewhat of an impact, and that's what it's all about.
They get the commercial to air without all the extra stuff. So we send them the video that they can put on their Facebook, on all their social media, that is stripped of all the extra stuff that we add at the end of the week in our show.
Right.
So it's cool.
It's very 2020-ish.
Oh yeah.
I'm surprised you even understand it. It sounds so new age.
And one of the things that I really want to push with this is that as we move into our second phase, now we're going to start going to these locations and playing shows there. So we're actually going to be here at the grill Saturday night at 6 p.m. doing some live music, and we're going to live stream that as well.
And as well as mix it into the show at the end of the week.
So let me ask you this.
So what kind of music are you going to be playing?
We do covers. We do some
Give
smooth
us a
jazz
little.
bits.
Let's give
Okay.
us a little. Give us some little.
So a few weeks back, right when this shutdown, this lockdown sort of happened, is we did a live at Lessman's Pro Audio, and we did some John Mayer there. We did some Dave
Tears for
Matthews,
Fears.
Tears for Fears, some Kane Brown. We do
Yeah.
a little bit of everything.
I love Tears for Fears.
Tears for
fellas.
Fears,
Give us a little
baby.
Tears for Fears right now.
I wish I had a guitar. He's
Well,
the
let's-
singer, not
let's-
me.
All right, let's go for a
Sing the lyric on Tears for Fears. Welcome to your life.
show.
There's no turning back.
Welcome to your life. There's no turning back, even while you sleep. There you go.
Oh man, I'm ready to come on Saturday. It's all right, baby. I'm coming Saturday night.
Yeah, me too.
We're coming
Let
Saturday
me
night.
ask you this.
Thank you, guys.
You shoot the footage, you shoot the commercial, if you will, and then what are all the bells and whistles you add post-production?
Well, what we'll do is we'll have them just specifically talk about the business. We'll then put on the screen the number, the address. I'll have video also playing while they're speaking that kind of premieres some of their plates, their food, their drinks, all that type of stuff.
What do you guys do for your show? I mean, the comedy parts, the music parts.
We've
What do you
got
guys
a
add?
character named Quarantine Man and Sandy Boy. He's got a kind of affinity for making sure people don't gather in masses and stuff like that. We've got a rap.
Yeah, we got a
album.
mixtape that's going to drop soon.
Right, it's called the COVID Chronicles. This features, Sandy Boy and Quarantine Man, and the single's called Separation Anxiety. We've got a newscaster named Dick Richardson. We do something called Lip Sync Thunderdome.
In the Thunderdome.
We battle to the death in the Thunderdome doing lip sync battles.
I gotta watch this show. We tell everybody we have John Chavez. I don't know. It sounded like the scales were a little bit.
That's still cool,
Mm-hmm.
The scales aren't even.
I don't.
I went to Albuquerque High.
And I went to Del Norte for a
I
little
was
bit.
There
99.
you go, Ninth Pride. Oh, no.
Yeah, that's a while back. He might have had a scraping with the guy. He knows all you guys.
Use that
Yeah.
here. John just asked these guys if any of you were my students.
Well,
Yeah.
Carson was my student, and he sit next to me at the Jack show.
He didn't know.
He didn't know.
I've got students.
It's Carson.
Clearly,
It's
you
Carson.
had an
teacher.
impact, John. No, I don't remember.
The only thing my boy Carson knows is put that mirror in front of him. And just,
You remember? I didn't remember. I have like 300 kids. That's 21 years.
Yeah.
Way too many kids in my brain.
That's a ton, man. Wow.
Thank you guys for letting us come up.
Of
and
course.
chat with
Thank you
guys.
so much. I really appreciate it.
And so I think that's really cool what you guys are doing.
Thanks,
And,
Coach.
and so you're able to maybe be successful with this and get a little bit of longevity.
You know what?
What is the future of what your company
At
is?
this point, what's happened is we've been egged on to do this. We've been told don't stop. And we feel like, hey, we're providing free commercials for businesses that really could use it. We're also getting sponsorship, so we are getting paid. We're getting a little food everywhere we go and everything. We're musicians, so as long as you feed us and give us a beer, we'll probably be fine. But the continuation of the concept,
Hey, they're taking our wavelength.
the concept is rooted is if it can provide as much return to let us live our lives, we'd love to do this.
Yeah.
All right, so if we bring you back, who's bringing a guitar?
Casper, he'll bring a guitar. We'll sing, and to answer the question that you just asked, I think that our vision eventually is that this is going to turn sort of into a talk show, where we have musicians come on our show, we perform with them, we invite local guests, whether they're a local artist, a business owner, whatever the sort. So
it's a variety show, no matter what.
Sebastian is the host of the #1 ProView show, Local Focus. Have you heard of it?
I have heard of that. Yeah.
Come on, man. You'd be a first. You would be a first.
It's out there, Coach.
I have heard of it. No.
knows a lot of you
Yeah,
cats, man.
I really do.
You know,
Luis Hernandez is the one that really turned me on to all this.
One of our
So
good
big
friends.
shout to Luis out
There
there.
you go.
Big Louie.
Look at those.
Louie's
Big
like,
Lou.
Get shot
Big
look
Lou's
on
my
your
guy.
face, right?
He's the man.
Big Lou's
He's
like
played
in
with
hiding.
us.
Isn't he?
Yeah, well, he's a drummer.
And actually, I play with him with Gonzalo right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was wondering if the cartel's after him because he's in hiding.
Well,
We
still,
better
you
not
know,
say anything.
Lou's in hiding, so let's keep this low.
Yeah,
so
we won't
no
mention
one
that again.
knows, you know.
We won't mention that again.
Big Lou. Big Lou, man, I miss you, brother.
Brother
You
Lou.
know,
What I find cool about your project is, well, you have the benefit of you're making a commercial that the business can use, but then you guys are adding to it and creating content that's creative and that's your passion. That's so cool, man.
Yeah, the next
Thank
step is
you.
getting the owners to actually be in some of the green screen skits, and we've kind of commissioned them to do that, and they're into it. So
He's got a couple of beers in Phil, and he'll do almost anything.
We already,
Wow.
yeah.
Right, don't you think?
So I'll buy Crown
And he's a
instead. See what
creative
Crown
guy.
takes it.
So Phil will do a commercial, won't he?
Yeah, he sure will.
Heck yeah.
Guys, thanks for coming on, man. We want to
Thank
bring you out next week.
We'd love to.
Yeah, bring your guitar, though. We want to bring you out. We want to promote you. You promote us.
This would be great.
You know, and we'll go from there, man. I appreciate you guys coming here waiting. It got a little crazy.
No, it's our pleasure.
Well, that eating contest was craziness in itself, but I do have to say thank you guys for doing what you do for the community. We appreciate that.
man.
We
Appreciate
you guys up
it.
next for the Eating Contest.
Appreciate it. All right.
All right.
Thanks
All
again,
right,
guys.
Thank
now
you.
we got some post-game coverage of the eating
Let's
contest.
get it. You know, I think Taylor Burton went home. He was bloated. He had to find the nearest pot. You know, when Orion will drop trout any toilet. Any toilet will do it as Orion. Maybe Taylor said, I gotta get my own personal.
Well, when you go into some of those arenas in the CIF,
My own personal crown. I want to get Phil up here too. Phil, see you guys next Thursday. And so I don't know. Are we bringing
Ryan,
out?
are you ready for the chocolate cake?
As Sinatra said, here's to the winners. Wow, Ryan got that ricochet going with the mic.
How do you feel right now? Oh,
Not good.
you want some chocolate cake?
I want.
I dug your strategy that you kind of dissected.
I was trying to eat it like a pizza,
Right?
but the thing that was for me, I only had to eat. I could only eat on the right side of my mouth
Why?
because I have a chipped tooth right here.
Oh. So you were just you were
I don't know. That sounds like an excuse.
yeah.
You want to see
Because
it?
you only have one throat.
It's
You
true.
know what I'm saying? So it really doesn't make a difference
Nah,
what
'cause-
side you're chewing on.
Every time I chewed it, it would hurt.
But I dig the strategy. He kind of took it apart. You know, he didn't have any meat left. It was just bread and fries.
How do you think?
Did you do any
did?
dunking
How
in
do
the
you
water,
think you
or-
did? You
Good.
you really believe you were going to eat the whole hamburger and the
Yeah.
fries?
I did too. So I saw how many fries there was. Do you see how many fries there was on there?
That's part of the challenge. That's part of the challenge.
Now you know why it's unbeaten.
And then the bread was like really dry. And then I ran out of water.
See, I think the thing.
How do you run out of water? We have an unlimited supply here at the grill.
I had high hopes for Colby at the beginning because he was adding a lot of ketchup. You know,
He was crushing it.
he was adding a lot of ketchup at the beginning.
We
to keep it
have
lubricated.
the inventor, the director, the CEO of the $100 burger challenge, and I call him PT Garden, literally. And so, Phil, you had quite a show today. You had the news here.
Nice
You
crowd.
had a nice
Hey.
crowd here. It was, it brought on a lot of attention. How'd you think it went today?
Oh, I think it went fantastic. Yeah. We had a great crowd support. And these guys, they came so close to eating that 8-pound burger. It was fantastic. And what a show they put on. Tonight it's going to be aired at 10 o'clock on Channel 4.
How about that?
So-
10 o'clock, Channel 4.
Yeah, if you guys get a chance, watch Channel 4 tonight and you're going to check out these
In
guys.
sports, Brandon Ortega.
Yeah.
So Orion, at what part did you start struggling? Because you've been bragging that you were going to crush it.
The part,
Did it humble you?
yeah.
But it looked like the bun would be the most difficult part because that's a lot of bread.
That is a lot of bread.
Did you cheat today and have lunch?
No,
Or did you cheat and have breakfast?
no. Nobody let me eat. I would try to like sneak some. Then my sister would be like, nah, I can't do that. But then when my brothers came, they're saying how what you're supposed to do is like eat little snacks through the day. That's what Man versus Food does.
He does. He said he doesn't fast. He does try to eat a little bit. during the day.
Because when I got here, like I was hungry throughout the whole day.
You tell Orion though to have a snack. He's having a burger.
Yeah.
So what did you snack on?
Nothing.
No, he didn't.
So
Cause
at what point
Well, I
did
think
you?
it's-
And Phil said, CEO of the challenge said, they came close.
They came close. They actually ate more than anybody has ever have in during challenge.
I ate
There's
all
a-
the meat. I know I ate all the meat.
Yeah, you did.
And just real
But
quick,
you can go to, say, the Big Texan in Amarillo and their 72-ounce steak. You can eat all the meat. If you don't eat the sides, you didn't make it.
But there's not as much meat at the 72 ounce than what was here.
Well, I don't know.
well, just for our audience, real quick, Phil, this is a regular thing here. It's not like it was a special occasion. So if someone else wants to tackle this challenge, you should just call Phil, so he can prepare the ingredients. Have that bun. Believe it or not, it doesn't come in a pack. He's got to get that. He's got to get that made at a bakery.
Yeah.
So, but if you want to give Phil a call the day before you come by, anyone can do this challenge. Right, Phil?
Absolutely, yes. We would love to have anybody come and do that challenge.
We're going to bring other football
I'm
players.
not comfortable with Orion sitting this close to me. What if he has a reversal?
What if me and Sebastian take on the challenge?
I don't eat bread anymore, Coach.
Yeah,
Or fries.
Especially your
Oh,
nutritionalist
that's
here.
right.
I saw his nutritionalist here.
I don't eat bread or fries.
I thought Sebastian was getting a little nervous too. I was going to invite her on, but I know Sebastian would get all puckered up.
I would just leave. I would just take my water and leave. Well, I think you should be declared the winner because your original opponent was so scared he backed out.
Yeah, he backed out
Orion's the
about
winner.
that. He did. He backed out 10 minutes before it was over. He tagged out.
On Taylor's
Tapped out.
Sam.
Tyler. Sam backed out. But Tyler, we got him late. You got him late notice.
Oh, that was Colby.
Oh,
Colby Burton.
Yeah, Colby Burton. And so on Colby backed out.
He could have ate all day.
He could have had a full lunch. He could have had a full breakfast.
He had breakfast. He said he ate breakfast.
Yeah, and so man, I appreciate him coming down and taking on the challenge. Phil, we appreciate you sponsoring the challenge.
Oh yeah, that's great. It was. It's good coverage. It helps us. It helps
try to
the
get
guys.
next year.
He's going to try to get next year.
And by next year, he means next week. Hey, and now, when you guys are playing the Cueva, you're going to have something to share there, looking across the lines. That's a moment you guys are going to look back on.
Yeah. What was it like sitting across the Cueva, guy? Were you guys friendly with each other? Or
no, we were talking.
You got a friend in the Cueva now.
My man don't make friends with everybody. Everybody knows Orion.
Nah.
He's already a legend himself.
I'm low-key.
That's what Vigil said. Vigil said he's got his own style.
Who was
I think he has his own style. None.
Who was that was with us that said, I've never heard of Coach B. Oh, you're Orion's dad. Yeah. So nobody knows who you are anymore. Now you're just Orion's dad.
Was that Aiden?
Who was that? Somebody was
Tyler that said that?
It may have been Vigil.
Oh no, yeah, it was.
Was it Vigil?
Zach Vigil, the real
Zach will never be on this show. Sorry, Zach.
Zach's never heard of Coach B in the
I don't know
Gladiators.
who you are.
But he said, Orion's dad.
You're Orion's dad? And so future, we're gonna bring this challenge out. We had our first ones. We've gotta find two big boys out there. So I'm saying me and Sebastian.
You know who I think I know who could finish it? Teton.
Oh no.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
And I bet you he would probably give it a go, don't you think?
I think if we came up with somewhere where we donate to charity or something.
But I think Teton could do it.
I don't know. I would love my boy Teton.
If there's anyone that could.
We'll make contact with Teton and see if he has the capacity, to put 8 pounds of hamburger in that bun alone is. I look at that bun, and every time I see that bun, I want to sit on it because it looks like it's very soft.
I think you almost have to one, you have to eat the bun first, or two, you definitely have to dunk in the water.
That's what I
It looks like that bun would
doing that
just
at the
kill
end.
you.
How did that go dunking it? Did it go down easier?
No, it was just hard for me to chew because every time I started swallowing, I started gagging it like that.
Did you add any condiments? Did you add any ketchup? No. So that I would have to try to douse it just so it's moisture.
Yeah.
But I would eat it and then drink. I would drink.
Yeah, but you were drinking Sprite.
I was drinking water.
Yeah,
when I was there, you had a Sprite. You said, "I don't have any water. This is Sprite."
I didn't have I never had soda.
He had water the whole time.
I had water the whole time.
In that little cup, it was water.
Yeah.
It was bread water.
I don't know how you did that without adding any ketchup. I mean, because you would think you'd want to lubricate that as much as possible. Ketchup, mayo, mustard.
You know,
Well, listen, guys, I'm very proud of you. I'm proud of what you accomplished today. That was huge, more than anybody has ever done before. Anyway,
yeah, and so
yeah, well,
it's pretty awesome.
I wanted to give you guys those T-shirts as a consolation bonus there for you guys. Just
and Colby he was represented. He had his La Cueva shirt on. Orion's got a pocketed yellow shirt. You know, when he walked in, I was like, this is Sandia versus La Cueva. What is he, like a T-shirt with a pocket on there?
To be fair, I don't have a Sandia shirt.
Guys, I gotta go.
Has Coach Adcock's on?
I gotta go.
Phil, appreciate it.
I wear 2X, Coach.
You bet, you guys. See you later. We'll see you guys at the grill. And you guys want to do the challenge? Come and see me. Give me a call day before. Get a hold of Coach. We can make this happen for you too. Thank you.
We're back open again, right?
Yes, we're open.
Back open, dining in-house.
Two at the end there.
Yeah, you saw that?
Number 1 or number 2?
It was a throw up. It wasn't no bathroom.
He didn't get any throw up on this shirt.
Did you?
If it was truly throw up, he'd have been out here disgusting.
Did you leave a mess for Phil?
Huh? No.
Okay, good.
You chucked?
John,
well, that means that, on Man versus Food, if you have a reversal, that's the automatic DQ.
DQ. But he embellishes a lot on his. We've always said Orion, boom, boom, boom. The TMZ, boom, boom, boom.
You've always said boom, boom, boom.
Orion, boom, boom, boom. Hey man, it was a great show.
What a great panel with coaches, huh?
It was, and every, this is for me, the 3rd show. Thanks, Orion, for coming on, man. Son, I'll see you at home. We'll talk about this food competition. Every time they come on, it's so informative,
right?
And it's mind-boggling. Some of the issues these coaches have to take. It's mind-boggling.
Well, and you have Orlando who goes about it the right way. You always trust it. Go through the legislature or go to these meetings, and for him to come with a solution 3 years in a row, and I'm just saying, just go away.
Right.
I mean, it really is disheartening. It's because, what is the logic behind that? Charging a couple of bucks to get into a baseball game, really.
But I think that we're going to bring this focus to we want a great relationship with the NMAA. We want a great relationship with the coaches. I can see us doing future podcasts at clinics for the MMA. Maybe we'll do a podcast that, you're not working a game and we want to go do a podcast at a game like at the Rio Grande, not to be able to charge $2. And they're in a financial crunch.
Well, and
it's hard to believe.
And they have, they could easily.
Cueva tennis can't charge.
Yeah.
Albuquerque, 2 programs with phenomenal tradition. I might go to the game just because I don't have to pay to get in.
Yeah, there you go. That's the draw for you.
I
think, a lot of people go to those games because guess what? It's a community team. Orlando's always built this team around the community, and it's under the lights. So why not? What else you got to do at 6:00 on a Tuesday?
Exactly.
So when APS says, there's not enough attendance, bullshit. They've never been out to a Rio Grande game under the lights then.
Right.
What I think it is they're neglecting something that works. And they say, well, you know what? This is working. There's not enough people complaining. It's like that significant other that you take for granted.
But with a district that's struggling for money, why would they turn away a solution that could create more revenue? I just don't understand it.
Yeah.
Laziness, because they would have to outfit each high school stadium, and they'd have to enclose their fan area so that they can control how many people go. Because I know, right, I live up by Siebel, and we go up there all the time. You can walk into the bleachers from a bunch of different.
I've heard that before, that it would be hard to control because there's some stadiums or fields have easy access. But okay, so
no, that's something that can be fixed.
The people that are supportive enough to support those programs, they're not going to sneak in.
Or let them do it. If they did a
bottom line is you can charge for some sports and other sports can't charge.
Well, that's why I brought up.
They're all APS schools.
That's why I brought up the legality of that. I said, why has no one ever challenged that legally as being inequitable?
Yeah.
Especially when Rio Rancho and Cleveland, I believe, charge $5 to get into their baseball games.
And let's say, let's say you only have 100 people come to the game, and you charge $4. 400 times 12, or how many home games they play.
12, yeah.
400 times 12. That's nice.
I'll tell you.
You know what I'm saying?
I'll tell you.
That's
Only
a supplement.
One of the worst attended baseball
That covers
games.
their baseballs at least.
Yeah. The only baseball game I can remember from last year that wasn't well attended was when the geniuses at APS Athletics decided that the APS Metro Baseball Championship between El Dorado and La Cueva would be played at Atrisco. That game wasn't well attended, so don't. But you could get me off on a tangent there that I don't want to go down.
Move Heaven and Earth to play it at the Isotope Stadium. Move
Heaven and Earth to play it at one of their fields.
Exactly.
I mean, there's two Northeast Heights teams, and they're going to Atrisco, and then they wonder why no one's drawing a crowd.
Or Del Norte.
I just don't know how you can charge in some sports and go to the other sports. You're not allowed to charge at the gate. There's no way that flies, and it goes on. And so there needs to be some. There needs to be,
questions asked to some people.
Yeah, fall and winter sports admissions carry our spring sport officiating costs. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. There's no doubt that it's got to change. That's for sure. That's my wife. Period. My wife just got released from the hospital 3 hours ago. She's out of the hospital, and so
Ryan's on his way in.
I ate the burger challenge.
And so
there we go, over Sebastian's shoulder. You can see I ate the $100
I ate $80 of the $100 challenge.
I'd say he got $93 because
I ate $93 of the $100 challenge. And so a great show today. A great show. And so we'll look till next Tuesday. We'll have another great week of shows next week. Great job this week, guys.
Yeah, next Tuesday
John,
we have.
I appreciate you stopping me from kicking Sebastian's ass in the production meeting.
I'm like, we're gonna have a bunch of broken equipment. That's what I was more worried about. I'm like, you know what?
I would have crushed the bar. I would have fell over the bar as I was going.
Yeah, you were hot today. I'm like, whoa. I'm going to try to de-escalate.
Hot topics out there, man.
I'm trying to de-escalate.
Listen, when I'm a guy, that loves to vehemently discuss issues. I love to. Yeah,
I think your wife would say argue. Is that correct?
I love to. I love when people argue back with me, but it only brings you closer. You know what I'm saying? It brings you closer. So I love Sebastian. Sebastian, I look at him as a little protege. A big protege. And so. If you can't argue with the protege, if you can't argue with your brother, if you can't argue with anything, then what's the use of having a relationship? You know what I'm saying? And so that's the thing that we really want. I wish that was on air. That would have been must-see TV.
That would have been viral. Are you kidding me?
There would have been people rooting for me. Yeah. There would have been people rooting for Sebastian.
Yeah.
Did I almost make him cry, John?
No,
did you see him?
No, he stood his ground.
Did he take a backward step?
He just stood his ground.
That's what you got to like. No backward steps,
I like it.
Man.
Yeah.
We don't take
a lesser man would
steps.
be like, "Fuck this, I'm out here."
We don't take. I was trying to get him to do that. Did you notice that?
He didn't.
I was trying to get him to storm the studio. Anger. We could talk about it on air. He didn't take a backward step.
I agree.
I have a newfound respect for him.
That's why I tried to be the pragmatic voice and say the parts that I agree with him or the parts that I disagree with him. I tried to point out both those things.
Yeah, you were talking about the parts you disagree with him a little different than I do.
Yeah.
Rationally?
So until we see you guys next week, thanks, Derek Brown, Derek Bean.
That's the head coach of the Hot Springs Tigers, state champs, my friend Derek Bean.
Derek Bean is Derek. We need you to listen in next week when we bring some more coaches on. We appreciate you guys, man. We really do. And John,
great job running around today, man.
Yep.
That was chaotic.
You were. It seemed like there was a camera everywhere.
I know, and we had an
Phones
iPad
flying
that was
everywhere.
freaking dying, and Oh yeah, that was. And today's our first day on this new streaming service. So we're on 5 platforms right now. So we
That's
have
awesome.
our
What are the
Facebook
5 platforms we're on?
We have our Facebook page, our business page, and then our Facebook group.
See that?
We have our YouTube. Where today's our first day on Periscope, and then I'm actually sending a link to try and get us on Instagram. So,
All right.
So we're working on all those different
we'll be
avenues.
here Saturday night. We
Yeah,
want to
that
hear the,
sounds like
we
a lot
want to
of
hear the
fun.
show. We'll be here Saturday
Definitely,
night.
let's do it.
We want to have a little fun.
We'll record some of it and then we'll play it on Tuesday.
There you go. All right, guys. Good seeing you. Great job, guys. Everybody out there, have a safe weekend. Be healthy. Enjoy the restaurants that are back open again.
Especially the grill.
Support your
At the
community.
grill, come on down, man. A lot of action at the grill. See you guys next week.